Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another edition here with us at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we are doing the third part of our Old English series. And today we're transported back to the 1970s.
That's right. So we're going to learn some 1970s slang, some phrases that were really popular back in the 70s, but are also still in use today.
Exactly. So it's going to be a very cool lesson today. And before we start with the dialogue, let's take a look at some of the words that we're going to find in
Vocabulary Preview.
Well, we have two words for you in Vocabulary Preview, and they're both found in the dialogue. The first one, roller rink.
a roller rink.
A roller rink.
Okay, so a roller rink. Let's break that down and let's look at the first part.
All right, so roller. We might recognize this from roller blades or roller skates.
Okay, so yeah, when you go rollerblading, roller skating, those things that you put on your feet to skate.
Right, wheels, not like a blade or a knife.
Exactly. So that's roller. And what about rink?
Rink is the place where you do skating.
Okay, so if you go to a roller rink,
Vocabulary
it's this big
preview.
area where everyone can rollerblade or roller skate.
That's right.
Okay. And what about the next word?
A block.
Okay, so this is a noun, a block.
And a block is a part of a city that is surrounded by 4 streets.
So a city is made up of many blocks.
Yep,
And everyone lives on a block.
exactly. So it's a square within the city.
All right, very good. So these are the two words that we previewed, and we're going to listen to them now in the dialogue. We're going to hear two guys just talking about normal, everyday things, but we're going to be listening to them in 1970.
Hey, man, how's it hanging?
Hey, man, everything is just groovy, baby.
Did you go to the roller rink on Saturday? I heard it was far out, man.
I wanted to, but I ran into this foxy lady that just moved to my block. I was chatting her up a bit, and then we mellowed out at her place.
Right on. Well, Jim went to the rink with Sherry, and he said it was dynamite. He was low on bread, but Sherry paid for everything.
Gravy! Jim is such a jive turkey, man. He's always hitting me up for cash. Anyway, you want to book and go grab some grub?
Man, I'm starving.
Groovy dialogue.
Yeah, really nice, huh?
All right, so some interesting language in here. And like we said, it sounds a bit strange, but a lot of this is still used today in modern English. So why don't we look at some of these words in Language Takeaway?
Language Takeaway.
All right, on language takeaway today, we have the first word.
Far out.
That was far out.
To be far out.
So it's just another way of saying cool. That
Yep.
was nice.
Yep.
It was really cool. So they went to the roller rink. It was far out. It was really cool. But the other guy couldn't go because he saw a foxy lady.
A foxy lady.
Okay, foxy lady.
So basically, a foxy lady is a really good looking or sexy woman.
Right. Commonly, you would hear some men refer to a attractive woman as a fox.
Okay, so foxy lady. Now,
Okay.
Marco, can we say a foxy man?
No, this is a phrase that you would only use for women.
Okay, so
Foxy lady.
So after he met up with the foxy lady, they both just decided to mellow out at her place.
So mellow out. What does this mean exactly?
Basically, just to relax.
Right. So to relax, to take it easy,
Mhm.
to mellow out.
So what did you do on the weekend?
Oh, nothing. I just stayed at home and mellowed out.
Okay. All right. And so the response to that was
Right on.
right on,
right.
right on.
Right on, right on.
And so basically they're saying, good, I agree.
Yeah, this phrase, you can say as good, that's nice, or you can also say it as, well, correct, I agree. So why don't we listen to some examples of how we can use this word in other situations?
Example 1.
Right on. You got a high score. That's amazing.
Example 2.
You got the job? Right on.
Example 3.
Jenny was right when she told me she thought Rick was no good for me. I should have listened to her.
So I think that's pretty clear. We can see how it means correct or also, okay, good.
Right on. And now we also have another word that's similar to far out. He said gravy.
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 Now, if you look it up in a dictionary, it's going to tell you something else, right?
Gravy is a sauce you put on meat.
Right. But in this case, we say gravy is cool.
Mhm.
It's nice.
Yep.
All right. So,
That was gravy.
mhm.
Now, finally, at the end of their conversation, they said, wanna book.
Okay, let's
Book.
So to book as a verb.
Yeah, interesting verb. It basically means to leave a place quickly.
Okay, so we have to book. The police are coming.
Right. Or I got to book, guys, I'm late.
So book, to leave quickly, to leave suddenly.
Yep. And that word is used quite commonly today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's used among younger people. You would say, yeah, let's book. This party is dead.
Okay, great. So there's a lot of pretty cool phrases in this dialogue, pretty groovy phrases.
Yeah.
Why don't we hear them again in context?
Hey, man. How's it hanging?
Hey, everything is just groovy, baby.
Did you go to the roller rink on Saturday? I heard it was far out, man.
I wanted to, but I ran into this foxy lady that just moved to my block. I was chatting her up a bit, and then we mellowed out at her place.
Right on. Well, Jim went to the rink with Sherry, and he said it was dynamite. He was low on bread, but Sherry paid for everything.
Gravy. Jim is such a jive turkey, man. He's always hitting me up for cash. Anyway, you want to book and go grab some grub?
Man, I'm starving.
All right, so now that we understand these 6 words that we saw in Language Takeaway, it's time for us now to take a look at some great phrases that we can use today in Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, so at the start of the conversation, there was an interesting way he started talking to his friend, right?
All right, he said, how's it hanging?
Okay, so basically, how is it going?
How's it going? How
Yeah.
are you?
Mhm.
Now, you notice in the spelling that we do have a G at the end, ing, right?
But usually you don't really pronounce the G in this context because it's very informal. So how's it hanging?
How's it hanging? So he said everything was just groovy, and then he started telling him about how he met a girl and he chat her up a bit.
To chat her up.
Okay, so to chat somebody up,
So when you chat someone up, you talk with them, right?
you're making conversation.
But it's more than just conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, you're trying to be a little bit flirty and maybe saying nice romantic phrases or something like
Yeah,
that.
so usually it's between a woman and a man,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And it's the man who chats up the woman.
Yeah, exactly.
So a little bit of a sexist phrase here.
To chat someone up or to chat up a girl, right?
Mhm.
So he was chatting her up.
That's right. And so they were talking about how Jim went to the roller rink, but he didn't have any money, right? Because Jim is always hitting his friends up for cash.
So
To hit someone up.
So before we explain this word, let's listen to some other examples so then we can maybe understand the meaning.
Example 1.
Can you believe Patrick? He came up to me a month ago and tried to hit me up for some money.
Example 2.
When I was a kid, I used to always hit my dad up for lunch money.
Example 3.
This is the last time I lend you money. Don't even try to hit me up for more.
All right. So when you hit someone up for something, you ask for it.
So usually it's to ask for money, right?
That's right.
Okay, so to hit someone up. And now for our last phrase. Let's book and let's go grab some grub. Grab some grub.
Okay, let's break this one down. With the final word, grub, what are we talking about?
Grub is an informal way of saying food.
Okay, so to grab some grub is to get some food quickly.
Yeah, let's go get some food.
All right, so maybe it's time for us to grab some grub. And while we're doing that, you can listen to the dialogue one last time.
Hey, man, how's it hanging?
Hey, man, everything is just groovy, baby.
Did you go to the roller rink on Saturday? I heard it was far out, man.
I wanted to, but I ran into this foxy lady that just moved to my block. I was chatting her up a bit, and then we mellowed out at her place.
Right on. Well, Jim went to the rink with Sherry, and he said it was dynamite. He was low on bread, but Sherry paid for everything.
Gravy! Jim is such a jive turkey, man. He's always hitting me up for cash. Anyway, you want to book and go grab some grub?
Man, I'm starving.
All right, so some interesting phrases, and even though some of these words you may not really commonly hear anymore, they might still be used in movies or something that's related to the disco era because it's very popular still, right?
Yeah, that's right. Some of our more advanced users could even use a lot of these phrases in a kind of funny way to reference back to 1970.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fun and, well, you will use them or you will hear them from time to time, even today.
And remember, if you have any questions about the language you hear in these lessons, check out our website at englishpod.com.
Exactly. We're there to answer any questions, and we'll see you guys there.
Thanks for listening, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Second paragraph in the dialogue.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into 1950s slang.
Oh, fun!
Yeah. We'll be looking at an episode from the English Pod podcast as our guide for this one.
Cool!
So get ready for some swell vocabulary as we figure out not just what these terms meant,
Right.
but like how they fit into the whole 1950s scene, you know?
Yeah, the culture.
The culture, exactly.
How they saw the world.
Yeah, and how it compares to how we use slang today.
Definitely.
Okay, so first up, imagine this. You're at a sock hop.
Sock hop.
Yeah, think like a gym, all polished up, teenagers in their best outfits,
Oh, yeah.
and everyone's dancing in their socks. No shoes allowed.
Wow, and their socks.
Yeah. Can you even imagine that today?
I mean, maybe at a roller rink or something?
Yeah, but like not just a regular dance.
True.
That's so 1950s.
It really shows how casual things were back then.
Yeah, like just pure fun.
Totally.
And then there's the Sadie Hawkins dance,
Oh, yeah, Sadie Hawkins.
where, get this, the girls ask the guys.
Whoa, a total role reversal.
Right, like a mini revolution.
At least for one night.
Have you ever been to a Sadie Hawkins dance?
I actually went to one in high school.
No way.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Was it like awkward or fun?
It was definitely different, like flipping the script on how dating usually works.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about how people actually greeted each other back then.
Okay.
This episode has people saying stuff like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm swell.
I am swell.
Right. It's so different from how we talk now.
It does sound kind of formal.
Yeah, like they're trying to be all polite and proper.
I guess that was the vibe back then,
Makes me wonder, when was the last time you actually used the word swell?
honestly. Probably ironically like making fun of how old-fashioned it sounds.
Yeah, right.
We'd probably just say something like awesome or cool these days.
Or even lit, if we're feeling really hyped.
Exactly. Slang changes so much.
It's like a living language, right?
Yeah.
Always evolving.
Totally. And it shows what's considered cool in that moment.
Yeah. Speaking of cool, there's this scene in the English Pod episode where things almost get out of control. And someone shouts, "Cool it, guys."
Classic.
Right. I bet you've heard that phrase before.
Oh, yeah. Cool it is a good one.
What do you think it means?
Well, it's like telling someone to calm down, basically.
Chill out.
Exactly. Take a breather before things escalate.
It's such a versatile phrase.
Oh, yeah. You can use it in so many situations.
My dad used to say it all the time when we were kids.
Uh-huh. Really?
Yeah, whenever things were getting a little too wild.
It's funny how some phrases just stick around.
Yeah, even as slang changes, like they become part of the family vocabulary.
That's true. It's like they have their own special meaning.
Okay. Are you ready for some more colorful phrases?
Hit me with it.
All right, how about knuckle sandwich and pipsqueak?
Knuckle sandwich. Sounds kind of delicious.
Not exactly.
Oh.
Listener, don't get any ideas. A knuckle sandwich has nothing to do with lunch.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
We'll get into it right after the break.
So a knuckle sandwich is actually...
It's a punch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, plain and simple.
I guess you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that.
Definitely not.
And it kind of makes you think about how
times have changed.
yeah, like back then, maybe being tough or even a little aggressive was more accepted, you know?
It's interesting how slang can reflect that.
Totally. It's like a window into the attitudes of a time period.
Okay, so we have knuckle sandwich for the tough guys.
Right.
What about pipsqueak?
Pipsqueak. That one's definitely an insult too, but...
But not as harsh,
yeah, it's more about making someone feel small or insignificant.
like belittling them.
Exactly. But compared to some of the insults we hear today, it almost sounds tame.
It does, like it's from a different era of insults.
For sure, the boundaries of what's considered offensive have definitely shifted.
That's a really good point.
Slang always reflects those evolving social boundaries, you know?
Yeah, what's okay to say and what's totally off limits.
It's like slang has its own set of rules.
And those rules change over time, just like everything else.
Exactly. It's a fascinating thing to think about.
So we've explored some of the more, how do we say?
Intense.
Intense.
Yeah.
Phrases
Vocabulary
from the
preview?
1950s.
Right, like those fighting words.
But this English Pod episode also has some phrases that are more on the lighter side.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like, it'll be a blast and I've had my eye on you.
Ooh, those are kind of cute.
Right. They have a totally different vibe.
Yeah, it's like they're hinting at things instead of just coming right out and saying them.
Do you think that's something we've lost in modern slang?
That's a good question.
Like being more subtle and suggestive?
Maybe there's something to be said for that, like
Right.
it creates a sense of mystery.
Yeah, instead of just being super direct all the time.
Exactly. It's like they were savoring the slow burn back then.
And now it's all about getting straight to the point.
It reflects a different pace of life, for sure.
Okay, so we have, it'll be a blast for excitement.
Right.
And I've had my eye on you for maybe a little flirting.
Definitely flirty.
What other gems does this episode have for us?
Well, there's one phrase that pops up when things get a little tense, and it's all about de-escalating the situation.
Oh, really? Which one?
Ease off.
Ease off. That's a good one.
It's like the verbal equivalent of putting your hands up,
Like saying, whoa, hold on a sec.
Exactly. Like, let's just take a step back before things get out of control.
I could definitely see that being used in an argument.
Oh, for sure. Or maybe when someone's being a little too pushy.
It's interesting how the phrase itself is kind of understated.
Yeah, it's not aggressive, but it gets the point across.
It's like a gentler way of setting boundaries.
Especially in a culture that valued politeness, like the 1950s.
Right, they were all about being swell, remember that?
Exactly. But it makes you wonder how ease off would be received today.
Yeah, would it sound totally out of place?
Like something out of an old movie.
I can just picture someone's like yelling and you're just like, ease off, old sport.
Uh-huh. That's hilarious.
But it shows how much slang is tied to a specific time and place, right?
For sure, what might have been perfectly normal back then can sound totally weird now.
And that's what makes exploring slang so interesting.
Totally. It's like taking a time machine back to a different world.
And we get to experience that world through the words they used.
It's amazing how a few simple phrases can transport us back in time.
So we've talked about sock hops and Sadie Hawkins dances,
Yeah.
decoded phrases like knuckle sandwich and pig squeak,
Right.
and even learned how to ease off with 1950s finesse.
Love it.
What stands out to you the most so far?
Honestly, it's the contrast between those playful phrases and the ones that hint at some underlying anxieties.
Interesting.
Yeah, like it shows that even in a seemingly carefree era, like the 1950s, there were still social pressures and concerns,
That's a really good observation.
It's like slang can be a cultural barometer giving us a reading of what was going on beneath the surface.
Yeah, not just about sounding cool, but about understanding the whole picture.
Exactly.
So, listener, as we keep diving into this world of 1950s slang, what are your thoughts? Are you surprised by any of the phrases we've talked about?
Yeah, or do any of them resonate with you?
We'd love to hear your take on this linguistic journey.
It's been fun going through all this 1950s slang.
It has. We've covered so much ground.
From those dances to like dating and even some insults that sound kind of funny now.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can learn about a time just from like listening to how people talked.
Like a secret code.
Exactly. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing about 1950s slang.
Okay, what's that?
How it reflected the anxieties of that time, like the cultural changes.
Oh, yeah, the 1950s were a time of big shifts.
Right. Like the post-war boom, prosperity, but also worries about fitting in and keeping up.
Totally. Like traditional values were being challenged by new ideas.
So how did those anxieties show up in the slang? Were people constantly talking about like the Cold War or something?
Well, not always directly, but you can see hints of it.
Like how?
Take cool it, for example.
Yeah.
It's not just about calming down. It's also about keeping your cool, like not letting your emotions get out of control.
Oh, I see, like maintaining composure.
Exactly. It's like they were using language to reinforce self-control.
Yeah, like fitting in and not causing a scene.
And that emphasis on control applied to social norms, too.
Like how?
Remember pipsqueak?
Yeah.
In a culture that valued conformity, being labeled as different could be a way to like keep people in line.
Interesting. So even seemingly harmless slang
Dialogue.
terms could have those deeper meanings.
Exactly. It's like the language itself was trying to maintain order in a changing world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into 1950s slang, what's the main thing you hope our listeners take away?
I think the big takeaway is that slang is more than just words.
Right.
It's a way to understand how people thought and felt back then.
Like what they valued and feared.
Exactly. And it reminds us that language is always evolving.
Yeah, reflecting the changes happening around us. So that the next time you hear someone say swell or cool it, don't just laugh at how old-fashioned it sounds.
Right.
Think about the stories behind those words.
The deeper meanings.
And how they connect us to the past.
Well said. Exploring slang is like a journey through time.
And that's what we're all about here on the deep dive.
Uncovering those hidden gems of language and culture.
So thanks for joining us on this linguistic adventure.
It's been a blast.
And until next time, keep your ears open for those new and interesting slang terms that are shaping how we talk today.
Because who knows, maybe in 50 years, someone will be doing a deep dive into our slang.
I'm wondering what it all meant.
Yeah.